Shaun Smith took what is widely regarded as the most spectacular mark in football history. The same Shaun Smith also took numerous brain-jarring knocks during his VFL-AFL career, with alarming and ongoing consequences. Hi, Shaun. Did the triumphs and the positives outweigh the negatives?
I've been asked that quite a few times.
Oh, sorry.
I guess you, in some regards you go, yeah, the damage done now. You go, well, was it worth it? But in some regards it is worth it. You know, it was part of my life. It sort of shaped who I am, and had some great fun along the way as well. But obviously the ongoing problems is you know, something you probably go, well, mate, was it worth it or not?
And those ongoing problems are to do with concussion and the effect on your brain?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's been an ongoing thing for probably the last 7 or 8 years. You know, sort of going through a bit of depression and, you know, some crazy thoughts and things like this. And
what's that mean?
Oh, you know, self-harm and stuff, which you're not proud of. You know, you sort of don't want, you know, to even think that. Just thinking it is not a good thing. But, you know, I've had some brain tests done, and there's some damage done to my brain. It's basically through concussions. And
they attribute that to football, yeah?
Yeah, well, I haven't been knocked out anywhere else,
no,
you know?
No.
And I did get knocked out quite a few times.
Brett Ellison, your long-time friend and teammate who came down from Canberra with you all those years ago, he said you had ridiculous courage. And I think most of us would agree with that. I can never remember a time when, if you saw the ball, that you didn't just go for it.
Yeah, and I used to wear that with a badge of honour, so that was the way I played, you know, and, you know, I was a big believer, you know, you could, you know, get knocked out 10 times and, you know, don't go hard once, and people remember that forever. Yeah. I guess that was in my head. Yeah, I did crunch my body a fair bit, but, you know, that's just the way I played, and it's sort of hard to get that out of you. You can't pick and choose which one you want to go for hard at, and you just see the ball, get ball sort of thing.
How many concussions do you think that you've had over the journey? You played at North Melbourne, Werribee in the then VFA, and Melbourne, and then back to Werribee. So there's a lot of football along the way.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the exact number, but I was talking to a few people from the past, and, you know, who watch games, and my mum and all this sort of thing, and we sort of worked out maybe got knocked out 12 times.
12 times. And you're talking about being
cold, yeah.
Yeah.
And then probably another 20, 30 concussions, maybe more on top of that, subconcussive ones. So there could be more. I don't know. You don't sort of keep tally of those things, and I guess a concussion sort of affects your memory anyway.
A few of your mates say that they think that your personality has changed along the way. Is that fair?
Yeah, it has. The hardest, the biggest eye-opener for me on that, people said that. I said, no, I haven't. But New Year's, I was up there. My dad passed away last year, and I spent a fair bit of time in Canberra with Mum, just looking after her. And Mum had actually said, you've changed. I've noticed in the last 5 years you've actually changed. And when your mum says that, she knows you the best. Yeah. And that's when the rule sort of a bit of a, you sort of go, wow, yeah, maybe there's something wrong here, you know, which is not good.
How deep was the depression?
Oh, pretty bad, yeah. I had a crack at a few pills to try and sort of make the pain go away.
The pain, you're talking about physical pain or the
just the mental pain? Just mental, just had enough, you know. It's just not a good place to be. Yeah, and I know a good friend of mine, Wayne Swass, has obviously been through that as well, and he's a great advocate for mental health, you know, issues and stuff, and does a fantastic job. And, you know, I spoke to Swatter quite a few times about it, and, you know, you just get good friends around you, and, you know, and some good medication as well.
Is that self-medication or under the
no, under strict doctor's medication? I'll probably take that for quite a long time now. I don't know. I really don't know. I might have to take it the rest of my life. I don't know. We'll see how that goes down the track. But, you know, yeah, it's not a good place to be. And it's sort of up. One time you're up, then you're down, and up and down a fair bit. And yeah, last year I actually thought I was going nuts. Last year, yeah. Just the way you think, and I know it's really hard to put your. I couldn't put an answer to it, but I said I had some through a good mate of mine, Peter Jess, obviously,
Yep.
he's running the case for the concussion, and Alan Pearce did some testing on me, and there's some definite brain damage there. So it's
What does going nuts mean? I think I know if we're talking in a public bar, I know what you meant. But what did it mean to you?
just angry. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a really easy-going guy, and you know, I'm pretty laid back, and sometimes people think I should be, you know, a bit more enthused, but I'm actually just really calm and collected most of the time. But just getting angry at the drop of a hat, and you know, and just having these silly thoughts and just of hatred, and I don't know, it's
Hatred directed at whom?
just anything that was in your way, or sometimes it's hard to describe, Mike, and just thinking, this isn't me. What am I doing? You know, staying in bed for 3 days.
Really?
You know?
Literally staying in bed for 3 days?
3 days. Yep.
Did you fear then what might come of you? I mean, you're obviously in charge of your own destiny, but were you worried about what course you may take from there?
Oh, that's it. It's always worry about that, and just think, I've got to get out of bed. I've got to get out of bed, and then sometimes it's a really hard thing to do. That's at the worst.
So your North mates will find that hard to believe. Those that haven't seen you recently,
Yeah.
all of them have said to me that you are warm, positive, happy-go-lucky bloke.
100%. And I still am that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not walking around like an angry human being the whole time. It's just, especially when stress is involved, and you know, I just don't seem to have the patience anymore.
Are you angry that you played football?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It was, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, it's just, some people get lucky, some people do 5 knees, you know, and it's just, I'd never hurt a knee. I never had a reco on my knee. So I guess it's just the way it is. You can't sort of have regrets, I guess, in that regards, because you can't go back. So,
I want to know how you felt when you saw Shaun Higgins playing for one of your old clubs, North Melbourne, after that heavy hit he took against Hawthorn.
Yep.
He's back playing 2 weeks later.
Yep.
And playing very well. But I know your view about this is that a concussion case should lead to at least a 4-week break.
I just think I don't know. I'm not a doctor, and people are going to say that. You know, you know what you're talking about, but I just reckon if you get, like, that was such a big hit. It was like he was, and he had a neck problem as well, and he had a obviously facial
With
with
his lip,
lips,
yeah,
with his
yeah.
lip open and stuff. So it was a decent hit, and to play 2 weeks later, I just think your brain can't repair itself well enough, I don't reckon. And if he was to get another hit that game, things could go wrong for him. You know, just have a look at Liam Picken at the Doggies.
Yeah.
You know, he's in a bit of trouble because he played through some concussions last year, and it does long-term damage.
When we talked about the Higgins situation earlier, you're angered by it.
Yeah, it does. Because we meant to have this concussion policy, you know, which is great and all that sort of thing. And I reckon they've done well with the cleaning up of the game of the front-on contact and the head high and all the cheap stuff. I reckon they've done a pretty good job of that. But I'm not saying in football you're not going to get hit in the head. It's a contact sport, but it's how you manage it and for your long-term health. And to get knocked out like that and play 2 weeks later, I don't see that as looking after your health.
Paddy McCartan?
Yep. He's another one. Yep.
And he's got a history, hasn't he?
Yeah. Got to get rid of the stigma of, you know, toughen up.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it's something you really can't see. Yeah, it's just one of those things you just have to, I think, take out of the players' hands and you know, say you're not playing for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever.
If you were the match review officer,
Yep.
and the Nick Naitanui case came before you, what would your decision have been?
I don't think that's a report. I don't think it is.
Yet Carl Amon was concussed in that incident.
I don't know the actual ruling, what they've gone by with that, but
I'm talking about you and your knowledge of concussion and the effect of head.
I'm not saying that as soon as someone gets concussed, it's a free kick or a report. There are accidents in footy, you know, there's things that are going to happen. But I thought the Nick Naitanui, it was fairly forceful tackle, but it was a push in the back. maybe a fine, maybe a week. I don't know. I'm not really up to date.
Grey area, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I feel sorry for Nick. All he did was tackle someone. He wasn't maliciously trying to hurt them. You know, and you don't like seeing anyone get concussed. I can tell you that right now. As soon as I see people get concussed, I feel for them.
Well, Carl Amon said later that he thought he was okay, and then he was in a fog. So clearly, there's been some impact on his brain.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So you're almost the standard month off if you're concussed.
Well, I think the boxing industry, if you get knocked out when you're boxing, you have a month off. Why is that?
Yeah.
You know. You know, obviously, they're right on top of that sort of thing.
You've got a boy playing football at Melbourne.
I do, yes.
How do you feel about him playing at AFL level with the risks involved?
You should ask his mother that, really. She's horrified him playing football because he was playing basketball at the Geelong Supercats in the Seaball League, which is a high standard, and he was a good basketballer. But Joel just wanted to play footy, so I can't stop the son playing football.
Were you pleased when he said he wanted to play footy?
I had mixed emotions in some regards, because I think he was destined for a good basketball career. But yeah, if it makes him happy, I'm happy. And he went to Melbourne, obviously, which made it a lot easier for me, because obviously they're a great club, and I'm ex-player and stuff. So yeah, it's But I mean, I love watching him play, because he's a good athlete, and it's good watching him run around. But yeah,
he's got a bit of father in him, hasn't he?
What, injury?
Yes.
He gets injured quite easily.
But round one last year, did he take that big chest mark and then wrecked his shoulder?
Yeah, exactly as I said. He's got me in me. He got injured in the first 20 minutes of his first game. People reckon he runs like me, but in fast forward. He's got me covered for speed and athleticism. He's a good athlete.
Did you need to convince his mother to allow him to play?
No, not really, no, because Joel just wanted to do it. And as I said, if he wants to do it, we can't stop him.
What about your daughter, Amy? She's a pretty good sports person too.
Yeah, she's a good basketballer. It's funny, Amy was thinking about playing football, because I was coaching at the St Kilda Sharks in the Women's League. And on the way into the game, Joel's first game, we're talking about it, and Amy goes, yeah, I might come down to training and have a run around. And of course, Joel goes down the first 20 minutes, and we're in the rooms, and his mum walks up and goes, there's no way Amy's playing football at all. No way at all. And I go, yeah, fair enough.
And she meant that?
And she meant that. Yeah. She said it with such passion.
Yeah. Well, you're now an assistant coach at Richmond.
Yep.
In the AFLW. Is it AFLW or VFLW?
VFLW.
Yeah. So are you subtly trying to talk her into having a crack at Richmond, or have you now accepted that she won't play?
I don't think she'll play, no. I don't think she will.
You prefer coaching girls than blokes, don't you?
Yeah, I've said, obviously Kate's at Richmond. I'd said to Kate, I don't think I'll ever coach men's footy ever again. I just love coaching the girls.
Why?
One, because they listen, which is a big thing. You know, they're like just big human sponges. They just take on information and go and do it. Obviously, you're dealing with a little bit of different emotional set in some regards. So you have to alter your training and the words you use and stuff. But apart from that, it's fantastic. And you know, gratitude is a big thing. After every training session, not that you're after gratitude the whole time.
Yep.
All of them go, thanks for taking training, thanks for doing this, thanks for doing that. You go, well, you know, thanks for bringing the water out to the trainers. You know, it's just go, wow, that's pretty special.
Given your sensitivity to the concussion issue, do you have to try to educate them about how they attack the footy?
Yep, we've had a couple of one concussion at training, just an accident, and she wanted to play. And good thing about the doctors, Beck, the doctor there, she's basically in the same boat as me. She just said, no, you're not training, you're not playing for this amount of time, and she had some time off, which was great.
Would you impose yourself on those discussions if you thought that someone had been seriously hurt and was going to come back?
Definitely,
and play?
I'd put my two bobs in, because they know where I've come from in that regards. And I guess it's one thing reading a textbook and doing all studies, but I've lived it, unfortunately. But so it's not now. It's 10, 15 years, 20 years down the track that it'll
Yes,
take.
I was just going to ask you about that. Do you fear that there's going to be sort of an outbreak of concussion cases in the next generation? You know, we're aware of you, Greg Williams, Johnny Platten, John Barnes, the names have become familiar, and now Liam Picken and Paddy McCartan.
Yep.
It seems to be the thin edge of the wedge, and there's a wave
definitely.
coming.
There's a lot of guys who I know who are just you know, the good thing about what's happened, us coming out about this sort of stuff, is that it started a conversation, you know, and I've talked to many people, you know, and ex-players that I've played with North, hadn't seen for years, and they say, how you going? Oh, I'm struggling, you know, and I've had to be on some heavy medication to stop their mood swings and stuff like that, and these guys have got knocked out a fair bit. So, yeah, there's be a lot out there, and it'd probably be worse at local level because they don't get they get lesser care than they do in the AFL.
Shaun, you've donated your brain, have you not? You've promised your brain
yes.
to the brain bank.
Yep.
Diesel's another one.
Yep.
Yeah. That's because you believe that they'll see the damage and hopefully find the origin of it.
Yep.
And perhaps improve the treatment.
Well, they're looking for a thing called CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Yeah.
I think I said that right. Which is going to be diagnosed after death. So I don't need my brain anymore when you die. Hopefully, I don't need any time soon. But yeah, they want to try and just work out how to treat it or how to diagnose it while still alive. I'd say, you know, and try and stop this thing because it's something that doesn't show up on MRIs or scans. Yeah, and it, you know, drives, you know, and basically rewires your brain, you know, and it's not a good thing.
Would a helmet have helped?
No. Helmets are great to stopping like lacerations and it will take a little bit of impact away. But if you get hit hard enough, there's still inertia going through your brain and your brain rattles inside your head and the fluid that's in it. And really, it's not going to really help that much. What
was the worst of the many heavy knocks you took to the head? You had a big one in Canberra, didn't you?
I had one in Canberra, yeah. One in Canberra. It was a pre-season game against the Swans and I just went across to Shepherd and I won't say who it was, but obviously elbowed me straight in the side of the neck and lights went out. And yeah, they actually thought I might have broken my neck that day because it was so swollen. But I was crook for a long time. I remember being in the showers after that game. I'd never felt so crook in my whole life. And yeah, and
I know you said you won't tell me who it was. It's just the footballer's code, isn't it? Because you're entitled to resent that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen this player in the past. Afterwards, and we sort of joke about it, and he regrets what he did. But I don't want to sit there and tell him, you know, who it is. So that's fine.
Okay. We should talk about, you weren't a bad footballer actually, before all this stuff befell you. 109 games with North and Melbourne.
Yep.
Your best year was at Melbourne, wasn't it? 1995.
Yeah, 95, yeah.
Yeah. You 51 goals that year.
Yeah. Yeah, how, I don't know.
Gary Lyon wouldn't have liked that, would he? Playing alongside Gaz.
Yep.
And using him as the stepladder in that famous mark.
Yes. Yeah, I guess he's pretty sick of that, I think, old Gaz.
Yeah. How high off the ground do you reckon you were? Got any idea?
Well, Gaz is 6'4".
6'3", yeah.
6'3", and my feet were on his shoulders.
Well, there you go, mate. There. Now, the amazing thing about, after I came to terms with the fact that you'd done that, then the next thing I remember was Gary rubbing the back of his scone.
Head. Yeah, he wasn't overly happy, I don't think.
Have you ever been higher than that?
Allegedly at Werribee. I played at Werribee in 94 the year before.
Yep.
And a game against Box Hill. I took one, which allegedly is on video. I haven't seen it, but yeah, it was a pretty good one. And
you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Have you sought it? Have you?
I've tried to, but there's been a few guys that have had the tape, but whether it exists, I don't know. Maybe it might be a bit of a folklore. I don't know.
So, do you believe that was you went higher that day?
Well, I felt like I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Just this natural ability to jump? Is that's all?
I guess there's a natural ability to jump, but also you've got to have the timing and the see ball and run and get it, as opposed to trying to jump, thinking about it. You just do it naturally. And I guess I learned to take marks. Mum had this jasmine vine against the fence.
Yep.
And I'd throw this little footy and I'd take speckies on top of this jasmine vine and fall on the ground going, oh, mark of the year, and all that sort of stuff. And by the end of winter, the jasmine would be absolutely wrecked, and then it'd grow better over summer and repeat the process all over again.
Do you reckon you can teach yourself to jump, do you?
Well, yeah, I reckon you can. You've got to have the jump as well, but you've got to have the timing.
Yeah.
My son can jump higher than me, but
can he?
And he's had a couple of leaps at footy, but he's got nowhere near the footy yet. So, but he just needs that just bit of training, I guess, just to put everything into one motion and go for the ball.
Your injuries. Now, there's a batch of concussions, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Did you break an arm?
Broke an arm twice, yeah. Both shoulders.
Yep. And what about the lacerated liver?
Yeah, I ruptured my liver.
Ruptured it?
Ruptured, yeah. I had a 13-centimetre haematoma in my liver. I've just got basically shirt-fronted, which in today's game would be 8 to 10 weeks. What happened?
Really?
But that was part of the game,
So you were hit with what, an elbow or a knee?
Just hip and shoulder. Just hip and shoulder, yeah. And that concussed me as well. If I ever thought I'm going to die on a footy ground, that was the day. I just couldn't breathe because I was winded that bad. But it wasn't until 2 days later that I've woken up Monday morning and the pain had shifted from the front to the back of my ribs, and then Brett Allison was living with me at the time and said, Fruity, can you push on my back some? He's pushing on my back, probably making it worse when I think about it. And he went off to work. I said, I'm right. And then within half an hour, I don't know, it's the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. So instead of calling an ambulance, I called John Longmire, who lived around the corner.
Did you?
Why I didn't call an ambulance, I don't know. Put that poor horse...
Dr. Longmire?
Get Dr. Longmire around, and poor horse, he had to come around, and I'm in a fetal position on the ground. And so he's rushed me down the Tulla Freeway when it used to be 2 lanes. And I think he's doing about 140 in the emergency lane. And yeah, I was pretty sick, boy. I spent a few weeks in hospital. And
really? Yeah.
So horse, I'm sorry about that.
1995 was the mark that we've talked about.
Yep.
51 goals. You kicked 3 bags of 5 that year.
Yeah.
So what did you learn? You're away from North Melbourne. You had 4 or 5 years there, and then 2 seasons at Werribee.
No, I had 1 season at Werribee.
Only 1?
Yep.
Yeah.
In 94, I had 7 at North, and then then 1 at Werribee, and then 4 at
And you came back a better player?
I did, yes. 10 times better player. Just stronger in the body. I did a really good pre-season at Essendon that year, hoping to get on the list, and obviously that was the year after their flag, and they only had 1 spot, and I didn't get picked up. So Donald McDonald convinced me to go down to Werribee, good old Macca.
Yeah. And
which I'm totally grateful to him for, because it was a fantastic year. It was a really good year, and I've kicked 69 goals or something for that year, and played some good footy, and I got redrafted.
The North blokes loved you. I know you didn't sort of spend your entire career there, but Brett Allison told me the story of the training camp in New Zealand under Shimmer. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And Brett just couldn't go. Do you pick up the story? You were climbing a mountain, weren't you?
Oh, we had to go over to New Zealand, and we're in these mountains, and we're at the bottom of this mountain. We couldn't see the top of the mountain because it was in the clouds. We're going, wow, that's a big mountain. And we're walking up this mountain, and it was just relentless hours and hours of a gradient like this.
Literally hours, yeah?
Hours and hours and hours. And Brett's not known for his endurance, I guess.
He's a fast twitch man.
He's a fast twitch fibre man, yes, that's it. And he's just like gone, no, I'm not going, I can't move. I can't walk, I can't go anywhere. And we've gone, come on, Brett, what are you going to do? He goes, no, I'm staying here. He was adamant, he was going to stay there. So literally we had to get behind him. It was like trying to start a car, and just once the feet started going again, and away he went again, and then kept walking for another bit, and had to push him again.
Isn't it funny how people have different versions of events?
Yeah.
Now, you should know because you were there, but his version is that he fell off the back of the pack and he just couldn't go, and he was at the point, in his words, of hallucinating. Yeah,
he was. He was seriously. He wanted to stay there. And I said, we can't stay here, mate.
And you came back for him.
Yeah.
and dragged him up the hill.
Yep, basically, yeah. Push started him up the hill.
Just one more on Freddie, your mate Brett Ellison.
Yep.
He took the mark of the year, I think, at the MCG, wasn't it?
Against Collingwood, yep.
And you were in hospital recovering from your ruptured liver.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Brett and I, we lived together for a bit and, obviously grew up in Canberra together, and we used to go down to Queen's Park at Moonee Ponds and with Mark Hepburn and Dean McRae and these guys, and we'd take specky practice, and how we didn't injure ourselves, I don't know how we did it.
You particularly.
Yeah. And so we always had this, Brett and I had this competition, who can take the better mark in a game, and I'm sitting in hospital, feeling a bit sorry and sore for myself, and it wasn't on TV, it wasn't a televised game. I think it might have been Rex Hunt or something on the radio, and Brett's taken this mark, and the radio's nearly exploded with just, in the crowd, you could hear it, and they could hear it replaying. I'm going, oh, what's he done? No, he's got me. And Brett came in after the game, because I was in St Vincent's just around the corner, and he goes, yeah, I think I got you. I've gone, yeah, nothing. I said, well, I'm going to take a better mark than you. Just watch me. And sure enough, the day I did, Brett rings me. He goes, yeah, you got me. So, yeah. Even though Brett's is that's one of the most underrated marks going around, I reckon, for it. I
mean, I did ask. We started by me asking you whether the positives outweigh the negatives in this career. When you list all the downside, the things that have befallen you in that time, you must wonder whether it's worth it.
Yeah, footy was pretty cruel to me, I must admit. When you analyse it, the amount of injuries that I've had, the scars you've got all over your body, just the head knocks and that sort of thing, and some of it was to early in my career. I don't think I trained as hard as I should have, and maybe got some injuries that way. But as I got older, you get a bit wiser. You sit there, and as I said, I've been asked that question before. Was it worth it? And really, 109 games in 11 years of league footy isn't a great return. But I guess I like to put it down as I was persevered and persevered and hung in there, and I've met some great friends. And as I said, it's shaped who I am, and and I've made some great friends and some great memories.
Shaun, I'm sorry about the plight that you found yourself in because of the nature of football and the way you played the game, but all of us would say you provided us with a lot of highlights over the journey.
Thanks, Mike.
Hopefully everything's in order now and you're being looked after and things are going to get better from here. So Thanks for your contribution. Great to see you.
Thanks, Mike. Cheers. Thank you.